the age of 19 in 1962, she was
but I have the files. I read this stuff at the National Archives, and I read these other things. I said to myself, how can that be possible? Pistols and frontal slap of choice. I don't know when that was. It doesn't really matter. Internet, professional wrestlers, and not just Ventura style. It doesn't matter where the information comes from as long as it's real. It's hard to get real information. Because seriously, they don't want you to have these two sources whenever I try to prove out. It's not. If you expect your government to tell you the truth, you're going to be sadly disappointed on another one of these things.
Dear Lord, what a dirty, dirty old man, huh?
Really? You can't be serious. Is this really how you want things to be? Come on. More hooker, eruptions, whatever.
Like Dave Powers kind of.
Really?
Allegedly broadcast live from Pima Region 2, within the borders of the formerly united and currently occupied states of America. We bring you the Ochelli Effect.
Like, damn sure, no, I'm an original.
We have all these situations. I'd love to know why it takes 50 years, for
that.
For a 19-year-old girl to eventually get hammered.
And that is that. This is the Ochelli Effect. I am Chuck Ochelli, your host, as it stands anyway. Oh boy. Well, tonight, folks, I was going to do a different show, but I had a guest cancellation. I think it would have been interesting, but it was a few hours ago that I read a message telling me that my guest wouldn't be with me. So, tonight, instead, my guest is going to be the guy that, if you listened to my show before, you've heard him and all that, Dylan Wade, who is the young man that helps me to see that there are possibilities for the future, regarding thinking about the world in an objective way, etc., etc. Oh, wait a minute. Trying to... Oh, little technical problem there. I got it now, though. I think I'm back on. Anyway, back to where I was. Yeah, Dylan Wade is who I was talking about when something kind of went wrong there. Of course, he's the guy who does The Truth Speaks, which you can find on YouTube, and, of course, on the Liberty Beacon Town Crier website, which is now called TLB Town Crier, and if you don't know how to spell crier, it's C-R-I-E-R. Just so you know. Now let's see if I can do what I was trying to do before. Oh, there we go. And I think I've joined Dylan into the call.
Yeah, you did.
All right. Oh boy, it's one of those days, Dylan. How you doing?
Pretty good, Chuck. Pretty good. What's up?
Well, I'm just sitting here suffering from a migraine headache and had a guest cancel on me, so,
One of those days.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. How's the show going? I didn't get to hear you last night. You do Wednesdays on the Liberty Beacon radio network site, like I said before. And there goes the trip on my tongue.
My guest canceled on me, and I didn't have any callers. So after a few minutes, we just put on the pre-recording from last week.
Oh, no kidding. Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
see it? Go good.
It happens. It happens to everyone.
Happens to the best of us, but some of us have, like extra stuff produced in order to get through a show. So I'll tell you what we'll do, because this is kind of, unplanned and all that kind of stuff. How about if we just go through a couple of the things that are actually floating around in the news, both alternative and mainstream? Sure. And just kick around what you might think about it, or if you saw something about it or caught something better about it than I did. So how about that?
Sure. Let's do that.
All right, cool. Let's see. We're already 6 weeks into when they said they had done the first ISIS crisis bombings over there, right?
Yeah, we are.
Yeah. Let's see. And now, of course, the narrative that I saw and on a few different mainstream and alternative sites was a very confused sort of explanation about the ISIS crisis regarding the Kurds, Al-Qaeda, all those kind of people that are supposedly working together, and then they're supporting rebels that, the whole supporting the enemy of our enemy again, of course. But, what do you think of that whole mess?
Well, it's really interesting that the enemy of my enemy is my friend has now gone into the mainstream.
Oh, yeah, that's true, right?
That used to be an alternative thing, and people used to not believe it. Now you have people advocating for it.
Yeah, well, like I told you, not too long ago, or you know what? I don't remember if I told you or you told me, but I'll tell you the truth. We talked about this regarding the militarized police moniker. That was a few months ago now, but either way, it was in relation. Oh no, it wasn't a few months ago. Maybe it was 5 months.
It was in relation to Ferguson.
Yeah, definitely, it was in relation to Ferguson. And the thing was that we were talking about it regarding the sniper rifle guys and being in these uniforms and everything. And then you notice that a couple of the mainstream reporters actually were getting upset about it too, saying something about it, and then they introduced that whole terminology into the dialogue. It's pretty amazing, I think.
Yeah, but it is desperation, like you had said.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's a financial thing or if it's, just to get more play. I'm not sure, because they have less subscribers, less viewers.
Viewers have gone down recently. I have noticed that trend.
Yeah, well,
online media has become more popular over the past few years.
Exactly. And, well, anyway, the convoluted story with this whole ISIS thing, that's just, it's all over the place again. They're building it up again, and even trying to relate it to Al-Qaeda.
They are? How? I'm sorry, I've been outside the mainstream news lately. I've stayed away from both crises recently.
Yeah, well, look, you got to take a mental health day once in a while. But the thing is, I see no real sort of answer here. During the Vietnam War, if one had a map of Vietnam, which, most people didn't at the time, but let's just say if one had a map of Vietnam, and then you watch the news then, which was still in its infancy compared to what it is now, but, their evening news with Walter Cronkite or whatever at that time, right?
I think so.
And, but the thing is, to look back at it and realize that, that at this point, well, okay, let me see how I can explain this. You see, you have a map of Vietnam, right? And they tell you that the South is on one side of the war and the North is on the other side of the war, right? Mm-hmm. So you see enemy armies that are attacking in places which make no sense and attacking their own territories. If you follow a map for yourself and you listen to what they were explaining about these different confrontations and battles that occurred in the field,
All right.
So it just reminds me of that I think they've just completely convoluted the story so that it all molds together, and the people with the 5 minute attention spans will be able to get to cherry pick the information so that when they go to talk to each other even about it, one guy has the Al-Qaeda narrative in their hand because they remember it. Another guy will tell you all about the Kurds because we've been hearing about the Kurds since Desert Storm.
Well, the Kurds have seemingly been a big player in the ISIS crisis.
They sure have.
And that goes back to the enemy of my enemy is my friend thing.
Mm-hmm. But that's the thing, and even as a psychological tactic, I mean, everybody associates anybody who's, got their head in the maiden stream, like you said, supposes that we were attacked by Al-Qaeda, if they even bothered to remember that name, more than a month after we were first told it, right? Post-September 11th.
Right.
Well, anyway. And I'm trying to do this tonight, Dylan, on top of it, with a massive migraine headache, which is just brutal.
Don't worry about it. We're in the same boat, so...
you're having an uncomfortable day too, huh?
Yeah, it's been one of those days.
I'll tell you, talk about an uncomfortable day, man. If we look at Maine, okay, because you heard about the Ebola nurse, right?
That's the only story I've heard about in the past 48 hours.
Well, she took a bike ride and pissed off the governor of Maine there, and what was that?
Good honor.
Yeah, well, good honor, but at the same time, I mean, I don't know. And meanwhile, the whole argument over this 21 days incubation and all this other stuff, you realize this is like a debate on some of their shows now, right?
Yeah, I can't believe it, but... wait, I'm sorry, on which shows?
You know what, they all blend together after a while.
Are they mainstream or alternative?
Well, both are doing it, but I mean...
Well, if the alternative's doing it, then I got no words. But if the mainstream is doing it, then we're just following the same pattern.
Yeah. But I mean, and she's already halfway through her 21-day incubation period, or whatever it is they're calling it. I mean, she's already halfway through it anyway, and she's not symptomatic yet. Although I found this interesting that, the governor up there had said, well, I'm going to use, what was it? Let me see here. Legal provisions to the fullest extent of the law.
How far is that extent?
Well, because you know about the controversy with her arguing basically with the governor of Maine now. Of course, there was like an exchange in the media between her and Governor Krispy Kreme, who I'll get to later. But
Krispy Kreme.
That's what I call him.
I would call him that. I would give that nickname to Christy.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. That's Governor Krispy Kreme.
We were talking about the governor of Maine.
Well, right, but see, before she had the little public confrontation with the governor of Maine, and there's actually a lawsuit pending and all that, before she did that, she had an issue with Christie, too.
I like her a lot.
Oh, well, you listen, regardless of whatever is going on here in truth, and if she's not, being just completely irresponsible to her fellow man with something, or she's really showing us that this whole thing is the actual fabricated crisis that I have been saying from day one here. But either way...
Throw that little tidbit in there.
Yeah. I told you, man, my brain is so disorganized right now.
No problem.
You don't even know.
No, I know. Trust me.
Yeah, but so before she dealt with Governor whatever his name is up there in Maine, I don't remember it now. But I mean, no big deal. I'm sure he's not going to be some sock puppet potential presidential candidate.
Are they still doing that?
I don't know at this point because I can't pay attention to these trends so well. I do know they added back in the Jeb Bush thing, which I've been saying the whole time. We're going to have Bush and Clinton again.
Great.
And the funny thing is that
can we discuss that for a second?
Well, yeah, sure, but let me just finish with this. The funny thing to me is that I did actually see a mainstream clip with a regular mainstream talking head actually acknowledge the idea that sometimes sometimes it seems like the American people forget that this is not that the presidency of the United States is not supposed to be something handed down, blah blah blah, and the whole thing sounded like handing down the crown, pretty much. And meanwhile, they brought it up and they said, well, some people out there seem to view it this way, but really, it's not that way.
Some people.
Yeah, I like that, but the fact that they even brought it up was kind of interesting to me as well. But anyway, I digress.
Well, I just want to figure out who the lesser of two evils in that situation would be.
See, now that is a hell of a question, because I have no idea. I mean, literally, no idea which puppet would be. Wait a minute, I know the answer. It would be the same either way.
Yeah, I know. But...
well, sorry. I was, you know what? I just, like I said,
let's play the game for a second, Joe.
Okay, let's do it.
Come on, we're bored. Let's play the game. It's come to that.
All right. Let's skip over. And this all starts with an Ebola lady. See, you're just as schizoid as me. It's okay, though.
Hey, I accept it.
We start off talking about the Ebola nurse in Maine there. What was her name again? Oh, Casey Wickox, right? Something like that. Wickox, something like this. But either way, good on her for standing up, to the politicians. But
and then we got to who the lesser of two evils between Bush and Clinton are.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, anyway, and you know what they're adding to this? Just back to the ISIS thing for a second, because I find this so aggravating. Now they're adding to the narrative, by the way, just so you know. You remember Boko Haram a little ways back, Dylan?
Yeah, that became really irrelevant.
Well, right, but you know what isn't irrelevant is the storyline, because now they're not saying that Boko Haram does this, but guess what else ISIS, the giant boogeyman, does?
It leads to Boko Haram?
Well, no. That's a good guess, though, Dylan. I like where you're going with it. But... no, there was a graphic literally on this mainstream piece, and I think it was actually CNN. Oh. So I'm about as happy with them as I am with Reuters as a news agency. But
really, I don't put CNN as low as Reuters, but they're certainly extremely low.
Well, they're getting there. They're definitely getting there. If they haven't achieved the goal yet, they soon will.
Yeah, they will.
But they're adding to the whole ISIS narrative that not only are they beheading people, not only are they high tech and they have great video production and wonderfully picked out British actors to handle their speaking parts, but not only are they guilty of that, sir, but they also sell, enslave, and have a rape program for women.
Yeah. That's associated with
ISIS.
Oh, I thought we were talking about ISIS associating with Boko Haram.
Well, right. Remember, Boko Haram was the so-called terrorist group that was, we have your daughters, we're going to sell them. Yeah, but it was still a what do you call that? A jihadist type terrorist movement. So,
I have a prediction. No matter how invalid this will seem at first, what if the troops are there in West Africa right now for the Ebola thing, and then something happens with Boko Haram, and we have to take an extended stay to deal with that?
See, again, I like where you're going. I like where you're going with the theoretical, but I just think they're just going to keep building the colossal boogeyman, stacking. Go ahead.
And that extends into Iran.
Of course it does. So, all right, now that we've got all that solved...
Now we've got our unfounded theories.
Yeah, exactly. You did see the Israeli... Did you catch the Israeli news about what was going on?
No.
Okay,
I've been away from the entertainment.
Okay, cool. So you're not aware that there's this thing going on where an unnamed individual in the White House staff had made some sort of derogatory remark against Bibi Netanyahu. And right away, of course, John Frankenberry Kerry decides to crawl out of the woodwork and present his face, because he is the apologist, the surrender, and the face of, let me tell you the real story, children, sort of like Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, but way more powerful than Channel 13. Sorry again. But anyway, this is all over calling Bibi Netanyahu, chicken crap, basically, but obviously using the more colorful of the words there. Okay. So, go ahead.
Okay. Are they really at the point where they have to use that as a distraction? Have we really gotten there?
Well, I think it's funny. He called me a name. Could be a big problem.
Sounds like 4-year-olds.
Yeah, and it sounds like somebody, on, take my daughter to work day, let their 7-year-old pick out the news story, because that's about the level it's on. I mean, it's not even sophomoric. That's a little too good for it, right?
Yeah, that's... Ah, man.
All right, so just a couple other quick cursory coverages here. Like how I put that together?
Yeah.
Okay, Secretary of Defense Chuck Hagel actually said during that press briefing today that the Syria, ISIL... Okay, let me start again. Quote, Syria, ISIL, Iraq, Middle East issue. This is what he uses to describe all of what's going on. And notice how it all clumps together nicely now. So his coalition during this little press conference, not only do we say that...
Is this where Chuck Hagel says this is a setup for a new world order?
This was today.
Okay, that one was a couple... The one I was reading about must have been... I read that yesterday. Hagel said that in another conference.
Well, he was saying today that you remember I was talking to you about the coalition of the willing?
Yeah.
And how ridiculous that was. And I think you've seen stuff like that, right? About Bush with his coalition of the willing. I mean, even in the more mainstream left-winger, disinformation artists, Michael Moore's film, you got to see that,
Yeah.
So
not all of them are... Not all of the disinformation is disinformation. Most of it's a distraction.
Well, no, it's always a cocktail. It's a cocktail. See, it's got to have, at least some modicum of truth in order to be palatable. And, and look, you can say, look, check my facts. Here's the facts to check. Nobody really checks every single fact. So if they give you a little bit of real information, well, it's legit because I traced this little tiny bit of real information. So, anyhow, so the coalition of the willing. From back in the day, Dylan? This is where I'm speaking to you, young man. You need to know that you don't want to get duded up. All right, excuse me. I do feel very old when I talk to you, by the way.
Oh, sorry.
So Hagel admits in this press conference today also, or press briefing, I should say, that coalition of the willing, although they're just saying that this is a great coalition that's, all against the ISIL thing at the moment, is made up of 60 nations. 60.
There are 60 willing nations? There's a lot more there than the Saddam Hussein coalition of the willing.
Well, I think it's funny anyway to call it a coalition of the willing, because if you're making a coalition, by definition, you're willing, I mean, what are you going to do? Have a coalition by hostage, at gunpoint?
By drafting.
Well, yeah, but what I'm saying is that when you have this international effort, it's a coalition enough. It's kind of an oxymoron. Well, not an oxymoron. That's wrong. It's kind of just
redundant.
Redundant. There was the word I was looking for. Thank you. It's kind of redundant to say the coalition of the willing. It's like saying the happy of the glad. It's a little, Anyway, sorry. That kind of thing bothers me sometimes. No. Anyway. No, go ahead.
No, I just said no problem. What do you got?
Well, let's see. The last thing that jumped out at me with this Hagel deal was that he stated that they are constantly adapting to the anti-ISIS strategy.
Who's constantly adapting?
Our forces,
are adapting to the anti-strategy?
The anti-ISIS strategy, right.
But that just makes it... But by saying adapting to, makes it sound like you're on the other end of that. I just found that really funny.
Well, we're adapting to it because obviously it's changing. I mean, these guys I thought were leftover scraps at one point that didn't really have enough people to take over a town, all that kind of stuff. And then what did they evolve into? Now they're thousands and thousands strong. They have international recruiting. They have, high-end, photographic places to take care of things. They seem to have a great program because some of these captured ISIS, did you see the interview with the captured ISIS guys?
Right, because they would do an interview.
Well, they were captured by Kurds, and they did an interview. This was on one of the, I believe, this CNN again. CNN had an exclusive.
Don't the Kurds dislike us, too?
Well, see, that's my point about the flipping sides and convoluting who's on whose side and everything else. The other problem is that some of the people that we've attacked, are the supposed individuals that, we've attacked by mistake or whatever, are the supposed individuals that were actually supposed to be the legit rebels with the Assad regime. Okay?
Does it even matter anymore? I mean, we can't figure it out. I mean, I know it matters, but that's what the mainstream will say.
Yeah, but see, that's the thing. It's like as if it was being done completely. Look, if I throw 8,000 things at them, they're not going to pick up all of them. You know what I mean?
It's impossible.
It's sort of like hiding the truth in plain sight by giving more facts than could possibly be necessary.
Well, that's the internet.
Also a good point.
We're having fun.
Well, why not? Why not? I know I'm talking a bit and rambling, and I'm sorry, but I'm just kind of...
No problem, man.
Just plugging my way through here. Now, of course, Cuban incidents always catch my eye because I had to take a while to study Cuba in relation to the JFK assassination and also in relation to organized crime and investigative work that I did regarding, gathering of evidence, gathering of information. There I am tripping over that tongue again.
It's gotten bad.
Well, today it is, yeah. I don't know, Dylan. Do you think you're doing this to me, or is it just that...
I don't know. I think it's possible at this point. I mean, I don't think it's been this bad any other time I've been on, though, so...
No, I don't think so either, but I don't know. Haven't had John in a while, and I don't even think I made it to my normal 3 with tripping over my tongue in my regular shows. I don't know. Mm-hmm. Something to examine. Maybe I'll have to listen back to my own voice on other shows, and I don't have time for this crap. Okay. So, Cuba always catches my attention. Again with CNN, by the way, and I'm not trying to clump together my CNN stories, but the Cuban boats, the whole concept of how Cubans end up coming across to Florida because it's close to Cuba and everything. Like, you love movies like you saw in Scarface?
Yeah.
Okay, well, CNN decides at this point in time to do a piece on it, and they did. And it was pretty interesting, and I checked a couple other things to see if any of this stuff made sense, but they're saying that there's still a large push to get from still Castro-controlled Cuba to here. Of course, Castro lightened or lifted certain travel restrictions recently, so this may have changed the flow of individuals coming out. But anyway, regarding like the people that would come floating across into Florida and all that, they were stating that 10,000 individuals have been intercepted doing this in the past 5 years, mostly from Cuba, but also we still have the illegal immigration over water over there, from Haiti. So, did you happen to see any of this?
No, like I said, it's been kind of...
No, it's cool.
Yeah, I took that day to relax. I probably won't do that again.
Listen, you've always got to take, a chill day or a mental health day. Like I said, I totally understand. This is why a couple of times I've come on here not even knowing what happened that day because I just didn't even want to collect any of the sad or bad news,
I'm glad I came on here now because I probably wouldn't have researched any of this myself.
Well, there you go. And this is just me today glancing over this stuff a little bit. So in 10,000 intercepted in 5 years. Now, that's pretty large amount of attempted illegal immigration there, isn't it?
Yeah, and it seems like that's impossible because they don't care. We've seen that in the past, 6 months?
I'll tell you what else is strange to me, too, is that, you know how, people have talked about Mexico and how that's, an open border. Every one of our borders is susceptible in some way or another. You can't go north, east, west, or south and not have seriously susceptible borders because of various things. But people, I think, don't think about the whole, immigrants coming across the water there and into Florida too much anymore.
Well, personally, I think the whole immigration scare is another distraction, but because how heavily was that focused on for so long?
Well, and that's the thing. I think that this is just a contribution to the attempt to resurrect the whole xenophobic thing, where nothing is good that isn't American.
See, there's only one place I'll have to disagree with you. They're not resurrecting it. It's kind of been there.
Yeah, but it hasn't had any traction in a long time. Outside of, it had to be targeted. There wasn't the general sort of, revulsion at all foreigners. They targeted Middle Easterners so they could play with that narrative for a very long time. And so, of course, that was convenient, for 9/11 and for some years after. I think that stuff has calmed down too. But the thing is that, usually it's targeted. These type of people are out of control. These type of people are actually dangerous. These type of people join terrorist organizations and come back our way. You know what I mean? That is all targeted and has a narrative to it. But the immigration thing, it's just I don't know. It's just a different story, I do find it interesting though that they did cite that the amount of immigrants from this particular area has gone up exponentially since 2012, and they said that during this month of October that they had already caught 640. So these are pretty high numbers. It's not like they're just trickling in one at a time, right? Here and there.
Honestly, too high numbers. I question the amount.
Oh, are you saying that CNN might be exaggerating?
They might. I mean, they don't ever do something like that.
No, disingenuous representation is not CNN's business, is it, Dylan?
Absolutely not.
All right then. Oh man.
We're having fun.
Yeah, I mean,
we're trying.
Hey, you know what? Let's talk about Halloween real quick, because that's tomorrow.
Oh yeah, it is. I forgot I have a history test and an English test, so I didn't care.
The only, one of the few things I enjoyed in school was history. Big surprise, right?
Yeah, but when your history teacher doesn't discuss anything, it gets kind of boring.
Yeah, especially when they just lecture.
Yeah.
Let's see. Oh, in Northeast Pennsylvania, they canceled Halloween.
Due to Ebola, right?
No, not due to Ebola, but good answer again. That would have been great. But no, you remember the police barracks shooting that went down?
Nope. Was that yesterday too?
No, that wasn't yesterday. This is a while. This is more than a month ago.
I was about to say, a lot happened yesterday, and I missed it.
No, a single gunman, apparently, what they say is a single gunman went into a police barracks building in Pennsylvania and wound up shooting and, I believe, killing 2 troopers, basically. You know how we have the state where, when I used to live in New Jersey, but you know how you have in the state of New Jersey, the New Jersey state troopers. So Pennsylvania's state trooper police force has these barrack buildings just like our state troopers do. And I say "are" again. See, I'm having a bad night. As they do in your state. There are barracks buildings.
Do you secretly want to come back here?
You know, you're not the first person to say that to me.
Today?
If it was, yeah, exactly. True. Again, on the money. You know, I'm not liking this, Dylan. You're too much on the money today, brother.
Sorry, I'll tone it down a bit.
All right, thank you, because you're making me feel bad. Well, anyway, back to the troopers. This guy went in there and like I said, shot and killed 2. Right. So there was a massive manhunt undertaken in the woods in Pennsylvania. Okay. So you don't know anything about this?
Nope. This is something I haven't heard about.
All right. Well,
I'm a little surprised that wasn't all over my newsfeed. I figured all over my newsfeed it would be false flag proven.
Yeah, well, the barrack shooting suspect, is a survivalist, and et cetera, and I bet you
that convenient.
Yeah, of course, and he's supposedly just surviving out in the woods there, even though they got a massive manhunt on him and all that, and it's like tracking Bigfoot at this point because they
does he not exist too?
Oh, maybe not. But all their technology that's out there, all the, you can Google Earth and see where people are, and read their damn newspapers or whatever at this point. They can't find this kid in this woods. I don't know. Something is weird about that, but because of that, because he's still at large in that area, a large portion of Northeast Pennsylvania is just not going to do Halloween. So... Anyway, you should catch up on that story, though, because it's kind of weird and seems like the kind of thing that might have actually happened the way they said it did. But I bet you when this guy gets caught and his motives are known, it's going to be a totally different story. And they might be waiting to spring that, at an appropriate time to bring it around the necks of those of us that think, our country should belong to us.
What a novel concept.
Yeah, isn't it though? So, all right, how about the lava flow in Hawaii? That's been going on a while. Did you see anything about that?
Yes, actually. That is the one thing I've heard about recently. An article got sent to me.
So let me guess. You think it's just basically an act of the god Pele, and they should just live with it and let it happen, and whatever happens as far as the destruction and all that kind of stuff. And that's that. We just need to basically blame it on the god Pele, and because of their local religious customs, we're going to let this happen. So that good?
Sure. Now, let's go to what actually caused it.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Probably all the stuff the big oil companies are doing, all the fracking, all that. Maybe, I don't know. I'd imagine that's it. The harping of the planet.
Well, see, to me, the harping of the planet, yeah, that's a possibility. But to me, it always seemed nearly insane that people would want to live on what is essentially a volcano sticking out of the ocean. I mean, that's all Hawaii is, pretty much, is a series of volcanoes. They're not all active at all times, but there it is. I don't know. You still with me, Dylan?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
I lost you for a second.
No problem. Let's just do a random jump around then. There was 2. Hey, look! A little while ago, there was 2 injuries in England when a firework factory went up. Did you see that?
No, I saw something about Kansas. An airplane crashed into an airport in Kansas.
Oh, did it?
Yeah, 2 people died.
Oh.
At least, from what I read.
Oh, hey, look, you're in New Jersey. How about Governor Krispy Kreme? Did you see what happened?
That was a satire site.
No, this really happened today. He was arguing with with somebody who was criticizing him and holding up a sign, regarding the Sandy relief and their inaction and all that.
Oh, I thought that he was arguing with the cashier at McDonald's.
No, but again, sir, I bet you if somebody just whips out their camera phone, we'll get that one day.
Why can't we get that? That's the one thing I want to see out of this guy.
And I just imagine that the dollar menu, just does not appeal to the man. I can imagine him stuffing his face with, big handfuls of greasy McDonald's food. I don't know why it is, and I don't even like to pick on people that are overweight, that's for sure. But for God's sake, this guy just screams like I have a strange-shaped head because I am pretty much a miniature white sumo wrestler, you know. But
well, yeah, but something about just making fun of him is just so appealing.
It's definitely a stress reliever, isn't it?
Yeah, it's nice. I think my headache is going away.
Cool. You know, I should have thought of this before. It's also 76 years ago. Now I'm going to educate you, Dylan. 76 years ago today, that the War of the Worlds broadcast happened. Now, do you know anything about that?
No.
So, okay, have you ever heard of a book called War of the Worlds by H.G. Wells?
I've heard the name World of the War. Oh, there I go, tripping over my tongue. Thanks.
See, it's spreading. Good. At least I've given it to someone else.
War of the Worlds. I've heard that before, but no, I don't really know what it is.
Well, sometime in your lifetime, I'm not sure how long ago, I think there was a Tom Cruise reprise of that movie. So maybe you had seen that.
No, I haven't seen that movie.
All right. Well,
I know the title, though.
Well, let me explain something to you. What happened is there's a book by H.G. Wells, which is about basically an alien invasion on Earth, okay?
Cool.
Have you ever heard of Orson Welles?
Yes.
Okay.
Maybe.
Orson Welles, when he was very much earlier on in his career, obviously, because we're talking about 76 years ago at this point, was a radio guy, somebody who performed with what they called the Mercury Theater on radio, because there was no television. And, that was pretty much the internet / television this interconnected cell phone and game system even was all pretty much lived out through the appliance of the radio in the American home at the time, right?
Mm.
So you're somewhat aware that a time period like that existed, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Orson Welles does these plays on the radio. So at the beginning of this play on the radio, he does a version of H.G. Wells' War of the Worlds. Now, it's acted out, so it sounds as though there's real news reports in it and stuff like that about the alien invasion. Oh my God, they're burning up a farm. And by the way, where do you think the aliens landed, Dylan?
New York.
Almost. In New Jersey. In Grover's Mills, New Jersey.
Again, New York always gets destroyed in these movies, so
now,
I thought that was the safe answer.
No, I know, but but this isn't about a movie. I'm telling you that this was done during a time before, mass media as it exists now. Yeah, you had a movie theater, but, the radio was everything.
I know, but I'm just saying, New York is always on the hit list for fiction writers, fiction speakers.
Well, was and always has been one of the most recognizable, skylines and, one of the major cities. So New York, of course, is a great place to go. Plus, anybody who's trying to make a statement, I mean, you've got plenty of wonderful targets in New York City. If you want to, just for the artistic sake in a film, show the destruction of, the Wall Street people, because you're against them, there you go, boom. You want to show the destruction of probably the worst ritually abusing churches in the world, boom, you can show New York fall.
I'm not sure how much I would be against either of those.
Listen, I'm again not against the destruction of New York City, but but I don't have a serious hatred of the city. I kind of have some affections for it, but the thing is, it's just. Anyway, you know what I'm saying.
The center of evil.
It can be, depending on what you call evil. There's a great deal of culture there and good stuff, but yeah, the evil is pretty damn strong in NYC. Anyhow.
It is.
Oh, so back to the story of what happened here. Now you're thinking to yourself, so who cares? It was a radio show based on an old book and no big deal. But here's what happened. It was done on Mischief Night, and the people that didn't catch the beginning of the program who turned it on, partway in, it sounded as though these were real news reports. And, the governor of New Jersey has come on the radio to tell you that you need to stay inside because aliens are attacking. And it was happening in Grover's Mills, New Jersey. It was a real place. What's that?
That is awesome.
So anyway, people heard this and thought it was really happening.
That is awesome.
So there was a lot of panic. There were people that actually, got out in their cars and tried to drive away because there were instructions being given, get away from New Jersey. The entire state is under martial law, all this kind of stuff. You know what I mean? So a large portion of the public believed it. If you want to, you can check it out online, that, they were saying it was a hoax and he was, doing this to scare people and he could have caused a national emergency to happen and all this other stuff.
The guy was reading.
Right, he was acting, and of course there were voice actors, but it did sound pretty good for its time. And if you want to know something about the history of radio, you really should know about the War of the Worlds broadcast.
I would just call that brilliant direction. I wouldn't call that a national panic.
Well, right, it's brilliant direction, but it wasn't, hey, look, you're not supposed to make my cows stampede. We are. But Orson Welles is an interesting cat, you know what I mean? But you should really, again, if you're interested in the history of radio, you got to know about War of the Worlds. And it used to be one of my favorite records when I was a kid. Of course, I was, not even a thought when this happened, in real life. But I just found it so remarkable that a radio broadcast could do that to such a mass number of people. And I bet you if you search newspaper archives, you'll find plenty of them out there. Telling stories about people that panicked, boarded up their doors, everything.
That's awesome.
Right, and I knew you'd appreciate. And you know what? Even if you don't appreciate the historical, significance of that broadcast and what happened, even if you don't appreciate that, I knew you would appreciate just the fact that it scared the crap out of people.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah,
I think it's cool that it got out to so many people, but I think it's even better that it caused such a huge panic.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. Hey, you know what other anniversary has come up too? Is the 40th anniversary of the Rumble in the Jungle, which you probably never heard of either, right?
No.
Well,
sorry.
Again, back when I was a young man, broadcast television wasn't like it is now. Cable and stuff like that was all new. And internet, well, maybe I have a hairnet. There was nothing. So back at that time, when they broadcast something live via satellite, it was a big deal, and all that kind of stuff. Also, there was a guy named Don King who was very much involved in the promotion of what was going on here, and some people will know that what I'm going to talk about is boxing. The Rumble in the Jungle was between Muhammad Ali and George Foreman, I believe. And it was just one of those remarkable sort of broadcast events because, again, it was a live heavyweight title fight, broadcast from another continent, and this was definitely a rarity at the time. But it's not significant for its broadcast. It's just one of those, in my mind anyway, it's just one of those situations where a great sort of sporting event actually, is captured and for all time becomes a standard pretty much for something in a sport that, to me, is very legitimate. Boxing is a very legitimate sport, and although I know it's all bread and circus, sometimes I just sort of feel as though the individuals that you might find yourself rooting for when it comes to boxing are just so much more legitimate, heartfelt, soulful people. So it just seems to be more of a legitimate preoccupation if you're going to have a sporting preoccupation. I like boxing. How about that?
I can tell.
But anyway, yeah, that was interesting that happened 40 years ago. So, yeah, I was all of 2 at the time. Well, anyway, in all of this, Dylan, because we've kind of gone around the horn, that's for sure, okay? And we've done it all in less than an hour.
Woo!
Yeah, well...
It's only been an hour?
Well, I've got 6:49 on my clock right now, so that means that I've actually... Yeah, I've got an hour and 10 left. Well, all right.
Let the rambling begin.
Well, let's get down to a couple of interesting things in my mind. First of all, you know what, though, because I know I'll forget if I don't get it in now. Anybody who's listening and is not familiar with Dylan, you can find him under the radio show name The Truth Speaks. You'll find him at a bunch of different places, including tlbtowncrier.com on Wednesday nights. And I know you're also still on Shake and Wake Radio.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure when that is, though. When are you on Shake and Wake?
My schedule. I've been changing that schedule around so much. Wednesdays 5 to 7 Eastern, and Saturdays 3 to 5 Eastern.
Oh, okay.
I can also be found on CJ Mars Saturday 8 to 10 Eastern, and People's Internet Radio Tuesday 4 to 6.
See what I mean? And Saturday, of course, is the day you're competing with me. Thanks. But
that's just where it ended up. We tried the simulcast.
It did not work.
Sorry about that.
And the funny thing is, I had nothing to talk about afterwards. I was just like, wow, let me make something up while I'm talking.
Neither did I in the first hour. In the second hour after Roger left, I was lost.
Yeah, I understand that.
I had somebody call in after 20 minutes on air, and we ended up going overtime. So I guess it worked.
It seemed to work, yeah. Listen,
we should try that again. We should try that again.
Oh, by the way, anybody
have you host?
Oh, sure, why not? By the way, anybody wants to call in, I'll take calls at 718-717-8296. You know, if I really get pressed, I'll pop open one of the most interesting messages I think I've ever gotten.
Please pop it open.
I have loved my feedback because it just reminds me that to some people in this world, I'm definitely not worth what a squatting dog leaves on your lawn. And some people, completely don't value my opinion or even, my right to exist on this earth, apparently. So,
can we pop it open?
Well, this one is different, though, and this is why it caught my eye, because I'm used to the hate mail. You know this.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm definitely used to the hate mail. I almost would have to say that I enjoy it. It's like a guilty pleasure to me at this point. Good.
In some sick way, you enjoy getting hate.
Right. I mean, and the fun part is, of course, it also comes across on everything that somebody can communicate with me on, because I get them on Facebook, I get them on Skype, I get them on, my regular email. It comes everywhere.
Chuck, I may drop a satire one in there just to make you laugh.
Okay. I would love it, but the thing is, I get them all over the place. And some of them are completely irrational, but this one is unique.
It's rational?
I'm going to leave that to your judgment. Don't spoil the surprise, Dylan. That's not fair.
I didn't see it.
No, you didn't see this one. I don't. You know what? And I don't forward emails, by the way, to anybody, but I do occasionally read them to somebody else. But I mean, I never forwarded you anything because, like I said, I don't do that. But I have read stuff to you off the air, even, which is pretty funny, I think.
Yeah, you and I have read a couple of those, especially one after your Church of Satan guy.
Oh, that was rough. Yeah, that was definitely rough. Oh man. Well, okay. I'm not going to identify the author unless he decides to call in.
Please.
And if he does identify him, well, I'll know who he is. But wow. Okay. Now I'm reading this, and I'm not a good reader, and it's going to sound like I'm probably a worse reader than I am. But please, I'll correct myself if I said something wrong. But however it is, okay? The only thing I'm going to do is redact, the curse words here. Everything else is exactly as it appears. I did not edit this in any way. Okay? You ready, Dylan?
Let's go.
Okay. I hate to be Mr. Doomsday, but I think we are all effed. I don't want to be a fearmonger. Okay? Now, next paragraph. Fear porn, they call it. A lot have made good money for a long time spending fear to sheeple types. I do listen to every episode you make on UCY. Thank you for that, by the way.
Do your most faithful listeners hate you?
I don't know. This is not hate, though. You haven't heard any hate yet.
No, but I'm asking the question.
I don't know, because like I said, when I get detailed letters, it's like, well, that means that you listen to the whole show. And then they reference other shows, and I say, well, that means that you listen to 5 other shows I did, and you keep doing it, and yet I was making you angry 5 shows ago, and
You haven't stopped.
You didn't just say, screw it, I'll turn on, my favorite podcast or whatever else instead of this guy. Okay. What can I do? This is not what I set out to get, but this guy's different. So, okay. He also says he watches on YouTube. All right, sorry, I lost my place. Okay. Before the First Cup is a amazing show. That one woman that runs the whole thing is pretty damn smart. When I listen to you also, the word is scrambled, but also, you are smart. Good knowledge. I am glad to be able to talk to you. I am extremely down-to-earth, understanding person. Now, I'm going to skip a little bit here because, it's being nice, and everything's cool, Okay, Alex Jones is damn good at talking. I don't know how someone can memorize that much information. There is no one else like him that does what he does. Maybe the New World Order made him, and there are chips in his brain. Who knows? I listen to Bill Cooper all times. I thought I heard him say there will be a man that will cull the masses. Alex might be that guy. Everyone that listens to him could be a potential terrorist or something like that. S is strange. Are you with me so far, Dylan?
Yes. I'm trying to wrap my head around that part.
Okay. I don't believe there is anything to change anything. They control all the technology. They control the chemtrail chemtrail planes / UFOs / food stamps / SSI checks / nukes / bad diseases / crazy classified technology and many other type of stuff. They are above the law, they don't have names, and they don't exist in the system. They are above the system, they are the system. I do get confused at times if aliens are behind this or just smart effing humans. How many levels are above the president? ? So who is the real president if there is someone 20, 30, 50 levels higher than him? ? What the F is going on? Who the F is running the effing S?
I like this guy.
You know what? I told you, this is not a hate-filled letter. I enjoyed this. I know when my time will come, when in time my liver and kidneys break down from drinking or some strange cancer shows up, and my time will come someday. At times, I like to visit graveyards. Okay. Do we see where this is going?
I think so.
Okay, there are...
Although he started his message to you off with telling us where it was going to end.
Okay, let's see. I'm going to skip to the bottom of this because I didn't realize how long this was. Okay, Chuck, you have great understanding of stuff. Let's see. No. Okay.
Live radio, everyone.
Yeah, I know. We'll just. I got it now. I got it. It's just it went too far, and I didn't know what to do with it. Let's skip to the bottom anyway. The last thought in this, and believe me, I gave you a pretty good segment there to give you an idea of where all this thinking goes. That was a really good excerpt, let's just say. The whole thing has ended up with, in time, we will all be dead from old age or from from some other effed up situation.
Mm-hmm.
That's just BS. Peace out. And I've left you speechless, have I?
Very well done, Chuck. Well done. Well done. It's tough to leave me speechless.
Well, I guess I can think of a good thing to say here and there when my head's about ready to explode, so It's all good. Oh, man.
Am I allowed to respond?
I'm waiting on it, actually.
Okay, I'm just gonna respond to that last part, because that last part is where I really, really start to disagree. The other stuff I disagree with, but first, do they control the system? Yes. Can we defeat them? Absolutely. And
I think you need more of this letter, because you're...
Yeah, please. Oh. I'm getting to the interesting stuff,
Okay.
hopefully. How about the Alex Jones thing? Because I thought that was interesting.
But yeah, and this is all one string of messages, essentially.
Wow. He's long-winded, I'll give him that.
Let's see. Program advanced. I'm just checking out some stuff here. Gives me a whole thing, and then gives me links too.
That's interesting.
Yeah, that's. I told you this guy is different.
He certainly is. Yeah, people are going to die of old age. So what? That doesn't mean we shouldn't fight. You seem very down, man.
Who, me?
No, him.
Oh, well, not necessarily. But this is another...
From what I heard.
Well, this is another he's not. I don't think he is. I think he's a little unhappy, it seems that he's saying, but I don't think he is. And anyway, okay, here's how the link comes into the mail real quick. This program is effing advanced and amazing. Create storms / analyze weather cycles / create droughts / and so on and so on. This is an amazing power. With this also, they are able to create in the future holograms of God and whatnot from lasers from satellites or some UFO and create God images in the sky.
Well, if that program were so advanced, it would not be on the internet, my friend.
Yeah, well, and what it is it's this link to a Japanese laser 3D image system display or something like this.
Well, the tech is most likely classified, dude. You said that in the email, that the technology is classified, so I'm not really following here. I don't...
No, I didn't see classified in there. Let's see
at the beginning.
He said it was advanced and...
so-called classified tech, if I recall.
Okay, let's see here. Oh, you mean, no, that was all with all the slashes, create droughts and so on. Right? No.
No. At the beginning.
He says advanced. He didn't say it was...
Okay, I thought he said... I could have sworn he said classified. There I go again.
That's okay. Look, man, like I said, I'm having a hard time, and welcome to my world. So...
I don't like your world.
My world is much like my brain. You know, when people say they want to get inside of your head, I used to say, well, go ahead, but I think you're going to hurt yourself in there. You know, it's it's the way it is for me. But no, I don't wish I don't wish anybody to really be in my world like that. Anyhow. So let's see.
That's very unique. I just expected a hate mail, but that is quite unique.
Well, that's usually what I get, you know. Let's see.
And
I want to pull out another piece of this. I didn't want to read the whole thing because, I mean, some of it he discusses himself, and I don't want to identify anybody as anybody, you know, unless they do it themselves. You know, because I just don't. I have that sort of partitioning my information and sources kind of thing that I carry out to all aspects. So,
if you're listening, I'd like to talk to you. You seem interesting.
No, if you want to call in, I mean, please do. 718-717-8296. I'll be more than happy to take your call. And if you got me on your Skype list, you can just Skype on in. That's fine too. Let's see. I wanted to grab this other part of this too. Okay, here's where the whole... the reason why I found it interesting that it was wrapped up with the whole we're all going to get old and die from something, and could be cancer, could be, you know, whatever, you know, is because it actually starts earlier in the mail here. There is a sad thing with us humans. This is at the beginning of a paragraph, by the way. There is a sad thing with us humans. In time we get old and die. There are many levels from being a kid and in time becoming an old man. I had a flash of something just now that had 1,000+ word process. How the child progress into adult and then old man. The psychology of this is advanced. I want a full diagram made. Let's see. The physiological process from child to old man. The old will have great knowledge. The electricity in the brain might be slower. The child will have a higher electrical level, but not as much knowledge. I read our brains can run a 5-volt light bulb. Our brains run on electricity, so if we breathe in nano-aluminum particles, the aluminum accumulates in the train, thus making our brains antennas, like a radio antenna. I guess he meant antenna, but spelled it A-T-T-E-N-A.
Well, yeah, if we're all made of electricity, like he says, I think we are. But where does that energy go?
Yeah.
Is the question I have.
Well, these are all worthy topics of discussion. But you're not getting any other message from this, huh?
I'm getting them, but I'm kind of waiting for you to say so I can piggyback off of it.
Oh, look, I was just trying to drop it out there so you could see what it is I'm telling you about. That's all.
Yeah, I know. It's all good, man.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I'm counting this up. 10, and 11, and 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Okay, 18 paragraphs.
He's long-winded.
I'm just telling you, 18 paragraphs. So
no, I know you're just telling me. I'm just saying.
Yeah. Hey, and you know, I appreciate every single email. If you want to send me a regular email, by the way, I should just give that out because I always forget. Chuck, CHUCK 1972 at Lycos, which is spelled LYCOS.com. That's email. Of course, you can find me on Facebook, and you can send your hate mail through there if you like. If you do it every day, I might block you, but once in a while, I'll take them.
Oh, but blocking people for hate mail ruins the fun.
Well, I know it. That's why. But if it becomes, repetitive and continuous, I mean, what am I supposed to do with it?
Sure.
Okay, there's my daily "I'm gonna kill you" message. Plus, I mean, look, if you're gonna group, if you're gonna have a hate letter for me every day, why not string them all together and send me a book? Anyhow, so I have something tangible in my hand to hold. You know what I mean? You can spit on every page. All right. So anyway, like I said, I'm holding on by a string here today.
Well, you seem to be doing pretty good, man.
Yeah, well, I'm just losing my mind. Anyhow.
I've lost it already, so I don't feel it.
We need to come up with a better expression for that as well.
Yeah, we do. We really do, because I don't like that one.
Yeah, I used to like some of the corny things that people used to say, like, somebody was going crackers. Or,
Well, that's a good one, too.
I like that one. They used to say they would send you to, it's no longer politically correct, but it used to be said that they would send you to the funny farm or the rubber room and all that. Hey, there's another fun thing that they used to do on radio, which they don't do anymore, but they used to have like the Dr. Demento hour, where he'd play all kinds of goofy songs and stuff. You ever hear about that?
Wait, I thought that was Fox News.
No, see, Fox News, they have to have meat puppets talking in between the goofy songs and the product placement ads, native advertising, as some call it.
Sorry, I had to. I couldn't resist.
No, it's okay. I totally understand. But, no, they used to have this Dr. Demento show, and you ever heard the song, "They're Coming to Take Me Away"?
No.
This guy, and I can never remember who it is that did it, but it's one of those, like, standard things out there, and it's just, they're coming to take me away, ha-ha, they're coming to take me away, ho-ho, hee-hee, ha-ha, to the happy home, with trees and flowers and chirping birds and basket weavers who sit and smile and twiddle their thumbs and their toes, and they're coming to take me away, ha-ha. That's one of the verses. Well, anyway.
That's kind of funny.
Yeah, it is.
It's something.
Long before Weird Al Yankovic, you know what I mean? Probably that's an old name to you too, Dylan. I'm sorry.
It's fine. I kind of feel out of place talking to you sometimes. Just like you feel old talking to me, I feel the opposite effect.
Oh, look, go talk to your grandpa for a while, and you'll understand, right?
I spent 6 months with my grandpa once.
Well, there you go, and
that's how I got to where I am. But other than that, I went crazy.
Well, if that's what you believe you are, sir, who am I to argue with you or to challenge your right to declare yourself crazy?
You've never challenged that. I think you've agreed with him more times than any.
Oh, I don't think you're crazy. You're just on your way because, people that hang out with me seem to go a little crazy. Maybe that's why I get the hate mail. I don't know.
Maybe. I think we just solved the mystery.
But this wasn't a hate mail, and I didn't want to tell you off the bat that it wasn't a hate mail because, I wanted you to experience it with an open mind. This isn't a hate mail, but...
No, it's not. It's quite unique.
Yeah, it's completely unique.
Do you get messages like that often?
I've gotten some messages that I didn't understand that were sort of like this. But literally because there was so much in it that made no sense whatsoever, it pretty much confounded the language. There was no way to get a sentiment from what they were saying and stuff like that. And that's happened to me a few times. And almost makes me feel bad, like as if, I guess the handful of people that like to listen to me, do they think like this? Am I only attracting people that can't write? Am I a magnet for the illiterate now? I mean, I would be very upset if I was. I know, that was a senseless rant.
Yeah, that was, but...
I'll call myself out for that one. But at any rate...
Thank you for calling yourself out for that one.
Yeah, well, I had to.
I was going to go there, but...
So anyway, but you're aware of, like, stuff like this. I mean, who was the first... Let me ask you this, because I don't think I ever asked you this. Who was the first person you heard on radio that you decided, this is a good thing, like, got you into the idea of doing it for yourself?
You want to hear a sad answer?
Okay.
That I've completely gone back on recently. The first radio show I ever listened to was Pete Santilli.
Pete Santilli. Okay.
Yeah, and now I've tried calling him out for being COINTEL.
Yeah, that's I understand that, but
I didn't have good taste in radio.
Well, it's okay. It's okay. But I mean, you didn't have mainstream stuff that you listened to before that?
Nope. I read little blurbs. I didn't believe anything before that either. I questioned how we got Bin Laden. I questioned why we were actually going into Iraq. And I didn't even read anything.
Yeah, well,
it was just a gut feeling.
So, see, again, you wind up smarter than me because, for a long time I was rather, hooked on the mainstream lies.
How long was that, if you don't mind me asking?
Well, the truth is that, I only really became aware post 9/11 and only, I don't know, maybe... it's been a process, so I don't know where my awareness really starts. I mean, I always knew that things were wrong and, that the government lied to us sometimes, like I've said, because of the JFK work and my personal experience.
Yeah, I felt that too, but
the thing is, so I kind of always questioned authority. Anyway, it's just kind of in my nature to do so. But the thing is, it got profound. A little while after 9/11, and I admit that, when it first happened, I was not awake or aware and was very much in line with the whole, let's, go turn a portion of the Middle East into a glass parking lot with nuclear weapons. I was very much on board with that idea, because I wasn't fully waking up. I wasn't aware. I wasn't really looking at anything other than, well, if the news is reporting it, it must have, it might not all be true, but it must have some truth in it at all times, which, of course, I've learned my lesson on that front, ladies and gentlemen, that's for sure. But, so...
I can't really point to my awakening either, but... I can say the process probably started close to a year ago.
Yeah. And, but the reason why I asked about mainstream stuff is because, I'm not only was I immersed in mainstream stuff regarding radio, I've always loved radio, actually. Even when I was a kid, I loved, listening to the AM radio late at night. They had, odd programs. At some point in my childhood, I think Coast to Coast AM actually started up.
Yeah. Mainstream?
Well, yeah, but I'm saying about the mainstream that was available, like through the radio and the regular television and stuff at the time.
No, I mean, I'm asking if you wanted me to mention any mainstream ones.
Well, if they were an influence, I mean, I was just explaining that that this was an influence on me because I was, a Howard Stern fan. Some people have kind of given me crap for that. A lot of people I noticed that woke up, if they woke up a little later, were actually Man-Cow fans for some reason.
I listened to Howard Stern a couple times. Never really got into it, but actually about a year and a half ago, I'd say, I listened to a lot of, and I'm going to get a lot of heat for this too, I listened to a lot of conservative talk shows.
Oh, but see, I used to listen to them as well. Again,
not for entertainment.
Well, but see, I appreciated all this stuff because you got, news and information. I was actually the kind of guy with a radio would sit and listen to the news channel for more than 2 minutes. Because in New York, there was 1010 Wins. I don't know if that still exists.
I don't know.
But for many years there was that. And, but that was the thing. So any kind of talk radio I liked. And Howard Stern, like I said, was a mainstay in my diet of stuff at that point. But at the same time, I was also listening to Rush Limbaugh.
Oh.
Before Clinton was elected. Now, the fun part about that, of course, I got kind of sick of it really fast, but I was there at exactly the right time to catch, a semi-conservative guy that I knew had been, involved in promotion for the NFL at some point or something like that, complaining a bit about how Bush wasn't, bushy enough for him, if you know what I'm saying.
Bush wasn't Bush enough?
No, never was. He wasn't bushy enough. But
how much more Bush do we need?
Well, see, Democrats and every other individual who is not a Republican at that time is, of course, a whack job. But Bush still wasn't bushy enough. That was the way it was. But when Bill Clinton got elected, it sent shockwaves through the conservative media, as it was at that time, and then straight on, it also sort of rocked. The local ones, not just Rush Limbaugh, who is definitely just the Mockingbird spokesman for the GOP at this point, but
no, that's going back now.
But there used to be local, right-wing guys that were even more extreme than Limbaugh was, and much more hard on the, the pinko Democrats and stuff like that.
So how do you get more extreme than Limbaugh?
Believe it or not, there were guys in New York City, like I said before, that used to broadcast. Bob Grant was a guy that I'd listened to who was like more extreme about stuff than Limbaugh. There were some others too.
She says, the sad part is I believe it.
And conservative radio in general has been one of those things that's actually
it gets more extreme as years go on.
Well, but it's all the same. It's just pretty much here's the marching orders from the GOP, and I'm going to push them, and anybody who's against them is godless, has no morals, and is lying to you. Their guys don't lie to you, but the other guys, they lie to you.
Sean Hannity doesn't lie to you. That's silly. Bill O'Reilly doesn't lie to you. None of them lie to you.
Well, Sean Hannity, to me, is just basically a Limbaugh carbon copy. But if you notice, he gets more pushy and more nasty with people, like straight up when they're guests and stuff like that.
Yeah, he goes off the deep end.
Yeah, but that makes him more like these local guys that I was talking about that you used to see, because they used to be more extreme. They would have a guest on sometimes. Now imagine this for a minute, Dylan. They would have a guest on sometimes where they were meant to be there for the whole hour, right? They would harangue these guys and insult the crap out of them for like 15 minutes or 30 minutes of the show. The guy would hang up during a commercial just because he didn't want to deal with it anymore, you know what I mean? And then for the next half hour, the host would sit there and talk about how much of a coward this guy was because he bailed out because he knew he was wrong.
So that sounds like peace and Dylan.
Yeah, it does. But this is how these guys behaved, and the local ones were more like that. Limbaugh was like playing clips and commenting, and But as soon as Clinton came into office, of course, Bush was then canonized because he was one of the great, real people that actually cared about the republic being a Republican. No, it's okay. But when I first listened to Limbaugh, yeah, he was more spending time complaining that Bush wasn't being conservative enough, wasn't doing, more of the party line than what he was doing. Like I said, Bush just wasn't bushy enough for him. And I'm only giving you these history lessons, Dylan, because I'm explaining to you something about the medium that you enjoy working in. You know what I mean? There's an interesting history of characters and broadcast milestones that could be traced through them. That
I appreciate it. It's funny.
And besides that, there's a lot of humor to it.
Yeah, there is.
I'll tell you, but my favorite part about Limbaugh, though, of course, you know what I'm going to say, right?
I hope so.
My favorite part about Limbaugh is that through all of his ragging on, and I listened to it, like I said, during that transitional time period, and believe me, anybody that was doing any kind of drugs was just, so subhuman. It was perfectly all right based on his rhetoric to lock people up and for virtually nothing. Oh, wait a minute. Pretty much that's what happens now, regarding a bag of weed and stuff like that.
Sounds like he got exactly what he wanted.
Well, but the fun part is, of course, this guy winds up, hooked on pills in a very public way, and actually was the first place that I ever heard the word OxyContin was in the Rush Limbaugh news stories. I wasn't even aware of that drug until I heard about that. I mean, you're aware of that whole thing, right?
No. Sorry,
no problem.
I'm so new to this, I don't even...
It's okay. Look, Limbaugh was caught at one point doing what they call doctor shopping. And what that means is he was going to different doctors more often than he should and trying to get them to prescribe him his painkillers. And had got himself hooked on them. So, of course, at the time, I don't know if he still says this, but I guarantee if the formula worked, he's continued with it. He used to say that I'm here today with half my brain tied behind my back. So a few years ago, I got very fond of saying that, was the half that he had tied behind his back the high half or the half that wasn't high? But, meanwhile, like I said, criticizing people and pretty much dehumanizing them rhetorically, for any sort of drug use, even the smallest marijuana amount, because it's illegal and laws are in place for a reason.
But he hates the government.
Well, yeah, but he doesn't hate the government at all, Limbaugh. He hates whatever government is not wearing the correct color tie. That's the problem.
You're wearing a red tie? Wait, what? I'm sorry, which color is which? I just don't... Yeah, I don't even follow it to that extent. I don't know which color is Republican and Democrat.
Well, you know what? At this point in time, I forget because it's been played with so much back and forth. I can't even remember which one it is at this point in time.
Good, I don't feel bad about it anymore.
No, it's slipping my mind. I should know, but I don't even know and I don't care anymore. No, because it's all part of the same machine.
That's the attitude I've taken.
So what Limbaugh is, in my estimation, is a giant distraction to keep people, he's exactly one of the hand puppets like Bill Hicks used to talk about with, I think the puppet on the right shares my beliefs. I think the puppet on the left shares my beliefs. Hey, wait a minute. There's one guy controlling both puppets. Shut up. Go back to sleep.
Oh. Yeah, I was reading, never mind. I forget where I was going with that.
Well, but either way, the reason why Limbaugh is nothing more than a massive distraction is because he has you rooting for one particular, one particular part of the same team, making his listeners believe that it is all important, for the sanctity of our country that you select a side and you better select his side because they're the only ones who have God on their side,
Yeah, somebody told me I'm the next Rush Limbaugh. I don't know if they were complimenting me.
That's a tough one. If you had that large of an audience and we're talking about Limbaugh's success, great. I'd love to see you get that successful, Dylan, especially if if you remain true to yourself as you've been so far. I would love to see you with a giant, hundreds and hundreds of radio stations and products and everything else. I'd love to see that happen to you just because of the listeners that you garner.
Yeah, I would remain true to myself because otherwise there's no reason for me to be here.
Now,
I'm here for the message.
Right. I mean, if they're telling you that, that you're going to be the next Rush Limbaugh because you're going to be the next puppet to push a rhetoric, which has been pre-scripted for you or something like that, or or that you're going to start to talk like him or whatever, which he does have a distinctive style, if you want to call it a style. But
he's a great speaker. That's all the credit I'll give him.
In bursts, though. In bursts.
Yeah, in bursts. Otherwise, nah.
And he's a soundbite creator. Immediately when something happens that, aggravates, they go right to the horse's mouth, or at least some part of the horse that talks, let's put it that way. But the thing is, they go right to him and usually have a clip, immediately for whatever's going on in the news, because, he does cover his side of the paradigm exclusively.
Yeah. Don't cover the entire paradigm or why the paradigm is a false paradigm. Just follow half of the paradigm. And root for that half of the paradigm to overtake the other half of the paradigm.
Well, God has essentially selected his side of the paradigm. Which is funny to me because, of course, Alex Jones likes to go into that whole, quote from Thomas Jefferson, I think it was. I can't remember who, but...
I can't tell if Jones is a Christian or not.
Well, he's supposed to be. He's supposed to be, and he says he is. Now, I've heard things to the contrary, but...
Oh, yeah, we've all heard things to the contrary. I don't think you can prove it with Jones nearly as much as you can with Santilli, but I think even though there's not enough evidence, I guess it might be irresponsible of me, but I still believe it. I still believe he's COINTEL.
Well, yeah, I understand why that you think that, but...
It might be irresponsible of me because there's very little evidence, but...
Well, it's your thoughts, but leaving that aside, though...
Sorry, I know you don't want to go into it.
No, not really. The thing is, what else has passed your fancy this week, though? I mean, as far as news stories and things like that. I mean, you getting ready for Halloween, by the way?
I'm actually all I'm doing for Halloween is I'm gonna go see Nightcrawler.
Oh,
the new Jake Gyllenhaal movie. That's all I'm gonna do, most likely.
There is a new movie that I actually would suggest people see because it tells, it tells the story of Gary Webb.
Who plays him?
I would have to find that out because I just heard about this movie that was in limited release not long ago, and I think it's still out there.
Well, if it's in limited release, then most likely it's not in enough theaters for most people to catch it.
Well, it's not like one of those things where it's in 10 theaters. It's just not a wide scale release because I don't think it had a high enough budget to do that.
The budget doesn't matter. What happens is the marketing division behind it has a budget. The marketing budget, if it's $30 million, it'll get a wide release. It'll get all these posters, commercials.
No, I understand that, but...
No, I'm just letting anyone who's confused about that know. The one thing I have knowledge about is the film industry. I don't think that's a good thing to have intelligence on or be able to talk about, but it's something I've gotten caught up in, so...
I was trying to pull up the information really quickly so I could figure out what was going on with the release. I think it says it was released October 10th.
Nightcrawler looks good. From what I understand, it tells a story about government agencies and criminals, the blurred line with Jake Gyllenhaal playing a sociopath.
Well, yeah, but see, that's fictional. This is a...
right, but... Still...
You know the Gary Webb story, right?
No.
Wow, okay, Gary Webb. It's okay. You know what? Let's... Well, first you asked who was in it, okay? Jeremy Renner.
Oh, I know Jeremy Renner. I haven't heard of that one.
Rosemarie DeWitt, Josh Close, Andy Garcia, Lucas Hedges, and Tim Blake Nelson. So, decent cast, right?
Yeah, good cast. Good cast.
Okay, Jeremy Renner stars as Gary Webb, and I'm reading from the storyline. The real-life dedicated reporter for the San Jose Mercury News in the 1990s. Webb uncovered the Central Intelligence Agency's role in importing cocaine into California that was sold to raise money for the Nicaraguan Contras rebel army. Supported by his wife and children, Webb pursued the story and went public with his evidence. When targeted for a vicious smear campaign by the CIA and rival journalists, Webb found himself fighting for his reputation and his family. So, but this is a real story, you know. I mean,
you're right, and I'm going to have to look for that. That sounds interesting.
Yeah, I haven't seen it yet, but the more that we can get the Gary Webb story told, the better, because there is a lot to that. And, you know, this was one of the first times that people really became aware that, you know, the CIA could be drug dealers. And you know what I have to say about that.
Of course.
You know, not only are they, are they the biggest drug dealers possible, but, you know, everything protected nicely under the guise of national security helps, and you know, and then meanwhile they lock up users and people that traffic in small amounts. You know, the same.
Of course, the monopoly continues.
Well, and that's because, yeah, exactly. They don't want any other importers than themselves to be profiting off it. So,
of course not.
You know, you got to
all of it to themselves.
Right. You take out your competition as best you can. So. Yeah. Anyway, so this is definitely something to check out, I think, and it's worthy. It's definitely worthy.
That's 3 movies on my list for the weekend.
You know, and there was also I don't know if you ever heard this, but you ever hear at a press conference where the I believe it was the somebody from the CIA came down to a Los Angeles inner city neighborhood in order to try and counteract the rumors that the CIA had been drug dealing. And what he does is he's confronted at a press conference by Mike Rupert. Does that name sound familiar to you?
One more time. Sorry, I lost my connection for another sec.
No problem. Mike Rupert, having gone to a press conference and saying that he was a former Los Angeles police detective, and that he knew all about the CIA having imported and helping to facilitate the movement of cocaine and crack cocaine, particularly in Los Angeles at that time. So, you never heard that?
Heard the name, never heard the press conference.
Well, it was some years back. You can still find it online.
I'll look for it.
Oh, man, I'm giving you a lot of homework today, Dylan.
Yeah, what's up with that?
I'm not trying to. Hey, let's talk about a couple of books that I know you have read, and I'm wondering if you've had any more time to digest them, because you're also recently initiated into the world that I call the brave new Orwellian world. You know what I'm saying? Because it's a blending to me.
Yeah, they're almost the same.
Right, between Brave New World and of course, what is the other book, Dylan?
1984.
Right. So it's really like a Brave New 1984. That was the phrase I was looking for before. Because if you sort of combine the mechanisms, you'll see that we already have gotten there in a lot of ways.
We are the Brave 1984.
Exactly. Or the Brave New 1984.
Either way. Yeah, Brave New 1984 works better.
Yeah, it's always good to have things with 3 names, you know. Lee Harvey Oswald. Okay.
John Wilkes Booth.
John Wilkes Booth, right.
Osama bin Laden.
Right. Oh, 3 names or 3 syllables, one or the other. Ay, ay, ay. Anyway. As I was declining, or further digressing into my madness, What did you take away from it? I mean, after really absorbing it, I mean, and putting the two books together, do you see how they're completely in Congress with one another, basically?
Yeah, it's amazing, actually. And I doubt you've read it yet. It's also in line with that new book that you probably haven't read yet because it'll give you a headache.
Yeah, I've already got one today, but you're talking about that Kissinger book again, aren't you?
Yeah, they work in tangent with each other. It's essentially the same thing, just modernized.
Well, you're pushing me to get this thing, man. You know, and I haven't bought a book in a while, to be honest with you.
Don't buy it. Don't give him any money. Rent it.
Well,
something.
Well, if somebody wants to, no, I'm not even going to make that suggestion. I don't need that headache. See, I was going to ask for an email contact if anybody wanted to drop one about that, but never mind. I'm not going to even do that. But anyway, so, but what you take away from it, I mean, you just agree with my stance and you know, about we're pretty much there already, or?
You can take it a step further. We've been there. We've been on that path since they wrote those books. And I think you can argue that we were there, we were close when Brave New World was written.
Another weird fact that did pass me in some other message that I was sent was that somebody was saying that I denied that, I forget if it was, they said Huxley was the teacher and, you know, and the guy who wrote 1984, whose name is Eric, his real name is Eric something or other, but the one or the other, one of the authors had been the other one's student in a college class at one point. I thought that was pretty interesting, but I don't remember seeing that anywhere else. You ever heard of that?
No. But no, sorry.
So, you know, maybe there was a personal connection there as well, and they were just each, you know, splitting the blanket, as it were, regarding the relationship, and I'll tell half of the story and you can tell the other half. And then they had to fill it in. I'm going with that idea.
Yeah, hey, can we chat real quick after the show? There were just a couple questions I had.
Yeah, briefly, sure, no problem. No problem at all. Well, okay, so after going over all of our wonderful news stories, you know, I still say, and will believe until I see serious evidence to the contrary, because you know, the numbers are rising regarding the death toll and everything else in Africa, but I still believe that the whole Ebola crisis is absolutely just a puppet show. I think that it's an effective fear tactic use, you know, and that's about all it is. I think it won't become any pandemic threat.
No, my most recent guest, though, really disagreed with me on that one when I brought it up.
And who was that?
Rima Lebo.
Okay. So what was the disagreement?
She says it's not a fear tactic, that it's actually a threat. That it's a bioweapon created by the U.S., which it may very well be, but it's still a distraction.
Well, I don't think either one of these types of thoughts are mutually exclusive.
No, they work exactly in tangent. Manufacture crisis, manufacture solution.
Well, not only that, for them to work perfectly in tandem, you could say that the you know, the Ebola weapon is being tested and being used in Africa, but it is not a significant threat here at the moment. Or you could say that they're simply testing what it would be like if the threat came. You could say all those things, but the fact that I say that it's not truly a threat and it's not the big trigger here, I don't think is contradicted. Is contradicted in any way by someone saying that you know, the disease in and of itself could be a serious threat and a real bioweapon.
No, I don't think it is either. But the disagreement was she thinks it will actually be a huge pandemic that could wipe out a large sum of the population.
Well, sure it could, but generally speaking, I mean, when a disease does that, it's usually, by way of some sort of flu or whatever. And the thing is, we're about due for one of those wonderful pandemics that there is no control for.
Yeah, we actually are due. It's been, 3 years since the last one?
I think so, but, where people actually did get seriously sick, it wasn't, the total BS about SARS and MERS and all that.
I don't know.
And I don't know if there's been any more developments since I've been on the air about the chick in Maine, but I just kind of found that funny because, like you said, you got to give her some credit for telling, I don't care if you're the governor or not, F you, I'm going to do what I want. You got to give her that, but at the same time, it just seems yet again another one of these pieces of the distraction puzzle, as it were.
No, but I do like either way that she did it, for the simple fact that even if it's all a distraction, it gets the conversation back in people's heads that the TSA should not be able to do that. It at least puts it back in their head.
Yeah, that's true.
Gotta look on the bright side of everything.
Look, I'm trying, but it has been very difficult lately, Dylan, I gotta tell you.
I completely understand, man. I really do.
Yeah, well, I wish that you didn't understand, actually, but what am I going to do?
So do I. But can't help it now, so might as well try to do something with it.
Absolutely. So, we've only got 15 minutes left according to my clock.
Oh, we did good.
Is there anything that you wanted to cover that we didn't get to?
Not really. We got to a lot more than I expected, actually. I thought some of those were going to hold us a little longer.
Well, I'm sorry. Have I been remiss about some of my commentary, or?
No. No, actually, it worked out, but sometimes we drag on.
No, that's true. But I was trying to keep it moving a little bit,
And you did.
I want to thank everybody who did decide to tune in. I don't know who's left with us now, but it is much appreciated if you're there.
Hopefully someone's there.
Well, yeah, and if not, also thanks to those who do catch this further down the stream, and decide to pick it up later or catching it on YouTube. I do appreciate that. Let's see. I was just catching another message here, but it's not very entertaining. And there we are. I actually popped back open to look at the chat room, and just quick comments from one of the anonymous in the chat room. Let's see, Gary Webb, Danny Cosolaro, Michael Hastings. The list is nearly endless. This is about when we were talking about Gary Webb. Let's see, 3 names work for Steven Seagal, hard to kill above the law, out for justice.
He's not wrong.
Nope, it definitely not wrong at all, and journalists have been targeted whenever they've tried to do something legitimate. You see, the people with the longest careers are usually the guys who have played ball quite fluently. I always point to the example of Dan Rather, who had a very long career after being the point man on the local cover-up with the Kennedy assassination. But there are many others who, participated real well in many a cover-up and so on and so forth. But they're always rewarded, and they have longevity in the mainstream.
Always a link back to Kennedy.
One way or another. Sorry.
No, it's impressive.
I don't find it impressive. I find it slightly annoying, and some of my listeners do too, but I can't help it. I mean, if it goes there, it goes there,
I understand, dude.
Yeah, well, I'm glad somebody does.
Well, I do want to do our myth show. We're going to do it eventually.
Well, I'll tell you what, if we can't get to it at the time of day that, that you want or whatever, we can always do it on my show, or we can do it on one of your later shows. Just try and make it at a network where, where people,
are not
going to cut us off because I happen to insult somebody that they think they know.
I gotcha. I wasn't going to put it there anyway.
And also my apologies to anybody who's been listening to me tonight, because I know I'm a little mush-brained at the moment because of the migraine that I have headaches all the time, but today I have a pretty good headache, and it's
hey, you held it together pretty good.
Taking its toll, and it's damn near blinding, and I know that sounds redundant coming out of my mouth, but
I wasn't going to make that joke, but
it's okay, you know. It's not the blind leading the blind; it's the blind describing the blind. So I can do that all day I want. To have your vision taken from you because of the pain in your head, and to feel dizzy and nauseous and just in a lot of pain for a long time is not.
It's the worst feeling in the world. I'm kind of shocked you were able to hold out for the 2 hours.
You and me both, brother.
I've had that pain. It is unimaginable.
I mean, the only thing that's worse, and I hope you never have to experience this, Dylan, I hope you keep your teeth well in all your life. The only thing that's worse is a rotten tooth when it breaks and the nerve is exposed. And I've had to go through that a few more times. But outside of that searing, horrible, sadistic pain, it is the second most horrible thing. And busted ribs and busted every other bone aside, I'm telling you that these two things hurt more than anything.
Yeah, I have never had a problem with my teeth. Pray to God, I'm praying to God I never do.
Well, take care of them and try not to drink too much fluoride, because that can cause fluoridosis, which makes them brittle, just so you know.
I don't drink a lot of water. I actually get criticized for that, but...
Well, for you probably should keep things going and all that, but I would suggest that you always make sure that your water is well filtered, or is, some sort of legit spring water that doesn't come from a municipal source like so many do.
I don't have an awakened family, so...
Well, maybe
it is what it is.
Maybe when you get some of your own expendable cash, you can get one of those portable water filters and at least, give yourself a little less, lead and aluminum.
Maybe when I go to college. That's only a year away.
I know, man, but the sooner you can get the fluoride out of your diet, the better off you are.
Oh, I know, man.
Sorry, man, I'm not trying to be pushy or anything. It's just... I'm just letting my mind go wherever it goes and wherever it's going to allow me to let my mouth run still, because like I said, I'm pretty much shot today.
Man, I completely understand. I've been through that pain. It is horrifying.
Well, I appreciate your sympathies. Anyhow,
I can't tell if that was sarcasm or not.
No, that actually wasn't. See, it gets so bad with me sometimes that you feel like, geez, is everything out of his mouth sarcastic? Reminds me of that South Park episode. Why don't we just play Sarcastaball? Did you ever see that?
I've never watched South Park.
Well, I'm not going to suggest that you do, but in case you ever find yourself watching it, just remember that I told you first about the Sarcastaball. Where they all wear bras and bop around a balloon with virtually no strategy except to hug each other and all that kind of stuff. So, anyway.
That took an interesting turn.
Well, no, it's just, it almost feels like, I'm just saying I was reminded of that, No,
I know.
So, anyway.
Huh. Always interesting.
Yeah, well, I'm trying, very much trying. But I mean, but the point of it, and why I was bringing up my sight being compromised by it, is that I can't hardly read anything. And and I had another guest lined up for tonight, but canceled because they had some. What's that?
Who did you have lined up, or can you tell me off air?
No, tonight was Daniel Lewis Crumpton. Really interesting guy and all. But he just had something else come up and couldn't make it. But I'm sure I'll get him back on. So long as I keep doing this, I'll try and get him on, because he's always interesting, uplifting, and unique regarding his philosophy, in my opinion.
Yeah, I had Crumpton on twice.
Mm-hmm.
He was interesting. I think it helps if I have good questions, but
it sure does.
I think you and I are going to have to talk about that
at some point. I don't know. I don't have a technique that I can pass along or anything, but it's not like I'm great at all this stuff, no. As you can definitely attest to after sitting here with me tonight for nearly 2 hours now.
Well, if you do good with Crumpton. I haven't figured out how to ask good questions to guests yet, so I'll get there.
All right. Thank you, Anonymous in the chat room. I appreciate your sympathy. But it's just a migraine headache, man. That's all. That's why I don't probably sound exactly like myself tonight. It's just sort of kicking the crap out of me. And anyway, so... Oh, we have a World Series champion too.
Oh yeah, that happened.
That's all I got to say about that.
That's all I've got on that too.
I always like saying that's all I got to say about that, because it reminds me of Forrest Gump. Sometimes I think I'm surrounded in a forest of forests. But anyway,
you are out of it. It's just coming out now.
You think so?
Yeah, it's really coming out now, but it wasn't too noticeable throughout the rest of it.
Wonderful. Well, then that means that we've just about made it through this entire episode, and hey, less than 5 minutes to go. Let's just tell everybody one more time where they can find you, sir.
You can find me on Shake and Wake Wednesdays 5 to 7 Eastern. And 3 to 5 Eastern. You can also find me on the Liberty Beacon, Wednesdays 8 to 9 Eastern. Some days it might be pre-recorded. Most of the time, hopefully it'll be live. CJ Mars Radio, 8 to 10 Eastern on Saturdays. And I don't know how I forgot to throw this one in there, though. People's Internet Radio, Tuesdays 4 to 6 Eastern.
Right. All of that under the Truth Speaks. Plus, you can find stuff up on YouTube. Have you added to your YouTube channel lately?
I haven't been sent my archives from most of my networks, actually, and the other ones trying to download through Skype and then edit is a pain, I have learned.
Yeah, well...
I need a system where it goes up automatically like you have.
Well, it's not, it's good to have somebody who's a technical genius to run your network, because they do stuff like that. And but not everything I do goes out automatically everywhere, so...
Unfortunately...
but UCY usually works, though.
Unfortunately, I am no tech genius.
No, neither am I.
I will never claim to be... And if anyone tells you I am, they are a liar.
Well, what can you do, man? Like I told you, I've never been a great technical expert either. But anyhow, yeah, just about done. Looks like a minute to go here. So I'm just going to say, if you're catching this somewhere else and you didn't hear it right on the page, go to ucy.tv/TOE. There's a chat room there. There's a player there. There's a little logo there in my banner, and you can check out all the stuff on UCY. It's a pretty easy to navigate site, and definitely a fun place to go. Plus, the archive shows for every show that originates with the network, you find them at that page as well. If you just like to go to YouTube and put on YouTube videos to listen to, because our shows generally drop with the banner showing and the date to show you what they are. Anyway, thanks everybody for listening. I really appreciate it. Thanks. I made it through the 2 hours even with the headache. Ribbit, goodbye.
At the age of 19 in 1962, she was
but I have the files. I read this stuff at the National Archives, and I read these other things. I said to myself, how can that be possible? The brain, crystals and fondle slab of choice. I don't know what that was. Internet, professional wrestling, and not just Ventura style. It doesn't matter where the information comes from, as long as it's real. It's hard to get real information because seriously, they don't want you to have just read two sources.